Just 3 years ago, everyone was calling him a huge bust and one of the worst picks in the 2020 NBA draft. His team was ready to give up on him, and it looked like Deni would be going back home for basketball if something didn't change fast. But then, out of nowhere, the kid they all called a bust and a defensive liability turned into one of the best players in the league, and everyone still hates him. But why? To answer that question, we're going to go back to Beit Zara, Israel, a small town you probably have never even heard of. From an early age, Deni was destined for greatness. His parents were both athletes, with his dad playing for the Yugoslavian national team before moving to Israel and having a long and successful career there. His mom was a basketball player and track star and introduced him to the sport of basketball at a very young age. Coming from such a sports-filled family, you could already tell that this kid was going to be something. It was only a matter of when. When he was a kid, Deni played soccer, which is the most popular sport in Israel, and all his friends played it. But in 4th grade, he made a decision that would change everything. Because after years of soccer being his only sport, Deni would officially switch his entire focus to basketball, the sport that both of his parents played at very high level. With Deni getting some of the best training out of any kid in his area from a young age, Deni was always in the gym with his dad, who was still playing professionally in Israel. It was clear from the start that all this time around pro basketball was paying off for Deni, because he was about to make another decision that would change his life forever. You see, the basketball system around the world is very different from America. Kids don't go to high school and college to continue playing. Oftentimes, they go straight into a youth program for pro teams in their country. In Israel, the Maccabi Tel Aviv club is the most prestigious team, with every kid in the country dreaming of playing for them one day. And for Deni, those dreams were becoming a reality when, at just 9 years old, he joined the Maccabi Tel Aviv youth program, which was an incredible start to his career. The program runs with the goal of training kids to become professional athletes. During the day, Deni would go to school like any other kid, but after that, he'd go to professional style basketball practices that focus on the European style of play. And from what we know, that style has formed the greatest NBA stars of the modern era. By the time he was 10, Deni was already put in the best position to succeed, and it was only a matter of time until he would be ready to play professionally in Israel. But first, he had to prove himself to the coaches. Deni would play in games all throughout Europe and Israel for years, constantly grinding to get to the top of Israeli basketball. And the moment he turned 16 years old, his height and insane coordination allowed him to obtain skills that most NBA players never have. And after working tirelessly throughout his youth, it looked like Deni Avdija was the basketball prodigy of the Holy Land. After just 2 years of developing at the pro level, he won the Israeli League MVP at just 18 years old, the Finals MVP, and also the championship. He was a teenager dominating grown men in one of the toughest settings in all of overseas basketball, and with this dominance came major attention from the NBA. The Israeli prodigy was ready to take his talents to the next level. The question, however, would always be how he would do in America, where everything is entirely different. After the NBA bubble concluded, with the Lakers winning a championship, many teams around the league were looking for a complete reset. You see, the shutdown started a new era in the NBA, and many of the teams that are competing now got their start from the 2020 draft in some way. The Sixers got Tyrese Maxey, the Wolves got Anthony Edwards, the Pacers would later get Tyrese Halliburton as a result of this draft. But if you ask someone on that day of the draft if they thought the kid from Israel was going to be one of the best players out of that class, they'd probably just laugh in your face. While there was certainly a ton of hype surrounding the GOAT of Israeli basketball, almost nobody thought he'd actually be able to translate that into the NBA. Despite that, the Washington Wizards, a team with basically nothing to lose, took a chance on him with the 9th overall pick in the draft. This selection meant everything for Deni and his family. All the work he had put in during his youth days and the grind he went through as a teenager in the pros finally paid off. But the NBA was a different animal. Nobody cared how good Deni was in Israel or even against European competition. He still had to prove that he could play with the best in the world. And if we're being honest here, playing for the Wizards was not not going to make that part any easier. His first season in the league would be a very strange one to say the least. It was a shortened season, and the league was still figuring out how to deal with the end of the shutdown and pandemic, and overall, it was just the worst possible time to be a rookie in the NBA. It's really hard to adjust to the NBA when the veterans on the team who are usually there to help you are still trying to grasp what was going on for themselves. This reason, along with Deni being a raw player, made his first 2 seasons in the league pretty tough. He was getting decent minutes, but his efficiency wasn't great. He was scoring under 10 points a game, and a lot of analysts around the league were starting to question whether he was really the answer to the broken Wizards team. In Deni's rookie year, Washington had acquired an aging Russell Westbrook and just barely made the playoffs, only to get bounced in the first round and trade Westbrook in that offseason. The next season, they finished 35-47, not good enough to make the playoffs, and not being bad enough for a top pick. With the future of Deni's career on the line, he had to do something fast. It was either request a trade to a better situation or do everything possible to get better over the offseason to prove that he belonged in the NBA. With his career hanging in the balance of the 2023 offseason and with the most insane year of his life coming up, it was make or break for the Israeli prodigy. During the 2023 offseason, Deni worked harder than ever before. Now getting some of the best training in the world, he was able to improve every part of his game. He got faster, stronger, more confident, improved his shooting, and was looking like a dangerous player coming into the next season. He was still with the Wizards at this point, and with them having one of the worst rosters in the league, Deni would get an increased role and an opportunity to prove that he would belong in the league. But right before the season started, disaster struck his home in Israel. On October 7th, there was a massive terror attack on his home country due to ongoing conflicts. Many of Deni's friends and family were still living there at the time, so he was extremely concerned for their safety as everyone tried to figure out exactly what the future was going to look like. Just as Deni was getting ready for the biggest season of his life, his world was turned upside down. The emotions, the worry, and the sense of uncertainty was detrimental for Deni at the time. But when Deni posted on Instagram about his concern for his fellow Israelites and his family on Instagram, it would spark a line of hatred that had nothing to do with basketball. When a young player who is just trying to adjust to the league and prove themselves is faced with this level of hate and controversy for simply voicing his opinion, it adds to the difficulty of staying relevant in the NBA. His comments were flooded with random people hating him for simply just being Jewish, and it was so much that it got the attention of Deni. Despite dealing with all this, he still had a season to play, a season that was make or break for him. Deni worked to voice his concerns and educate his Wizards teammates on what was going on, and most importantly, how it was affecting him personally. We live in an era where a player's mental health is everything, and I really think it's great how the Wizards community and the team were able to uplift Deni during this scary time. What would be a bright spot in this dark time for Deni though would be this season being a breakout for him. He went from averaging 8 points per game to over 14, proving that all of the work he put in during the offseason was paying off at the highest level of basketball. And despite everything going on back home, he was still locked into improving his craft and making his dreams a reality. It was really a great season for Deni Avdija, and maybe all of those analysts calling him a bust would be wrong. And most importantly, maybe the Wizards were finally headed in the right direction. The most impressive part about his insane improvement was that he had increased 7% in field goal percentage, 8% in three-point percentage, while taking more shots off of a larger role on the team. It was clear that this wasn't lucky or random, it was actual proof that Deni was improving, which was vital coming off of a season where he really struggled to make that big leap. After just 2 years in the NBA, Deni became a bona fide starter and a quality player. But despite that, the hate only continued and even got worse as the situation back home was really heating up. Deni wasn't being political, he was just genuinely concerned for the lives of his fellow citizens, his family, and his friends. With him becoming one of the most hated players in the NBA, and with his expectations increasing as the Wizards started to trust him more, it was time to see how Deni would respond to all the noise building up around him. And just as Deni was starting to get comfortable in the league, despite all of the hate he was still getting all over social media, his world was really turned upside down when in the beginning of July, he was traded to the Blazers from Malcolm Brogdon and a bag of chips. This is going to go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history, and almost every fan was confused as to why the Wizards even did this in the first place. But nevertheless, it was a fresh start for Deni, a chance to take that next step on a rebuilding team and show the league what he could truly become. In his first season in Portland, he took a small but noticeable step, averaging 17 points and 7 rebounds a night. Deni was still just 24 years old at the time and was looking like one of the most underrated young guys in the NBA. As Deni's NBA career continued to get better, the hate he was still getting on social media was not. It didn't matter whether it was his own post or a post about him. There were always comments attacking Deni's religion, where he was from, or just overall trying to drag him into things he really had no involvement in. It was truly insane to see. Never before had NBA social media seen a player who was getting hate simply because he was from a country, and the noise was so loud that Deni was hearing it loud and clear. For a long time, Deni didn't talk much about it, but it was clear he knew what was going on and why these people all over social media were hating on him. It is extremely difficult to be an NBA player in an entirely new city while still trying to improve and then getting hate from all angles, not because of basketball, but because of a situation that Deni couldn't even control. But like he has done time and time again, he was able to put the hate behind him and take the biggest jump of his entire career. Again, with the Blazers having no clear first option, Deni Avdija decided to take the role as the #1 scoring option, and he did not disappoint. After all the years of his hard work in the NBA and his time back home as the Israeli Prodigy, Deni was now one of the top scorers in the league, averaging over 25 points a night. The leap he took from the season before to this one is honestly just insane. It's not every day you see a player go from 14 to 17 point guy to a 25 point scorer in just one season. But of course, the hate on social media just kept getting worse and worse. It got so bad that Deni was now starting to react to everything that was being said about him. The New York Times did an article where they interviewed him, and he spoke about not understanding why he gets so much hate for something he can't control, and called out the people who don't understand the Middle East or aren't even from there. This was the first big reaction that Deni has had to all the negativity, and it's honestly pretty crazy that a player at this level gets this much hatred towards him for basically no reason. But despite all of that, Deni continues to get better each and every day, looking more like a superstar player and the future of the Blazers franchise. Deni has had one of the most interesting careers so far, being the GOAT of Israel to a potential NBA bust, now trending towards the top of the league. It's just been crazy for him. The sky is the limit for Deni Avdija, and he truly is becoming a special player right before our eyes. And we can only hope that the situation back in Israel calms down so a great player doesn't have to deal with this for much longer. From Israeli Prodigy to NBA All-Star, Deni's story isn't even done yet, and it's going to be really fun to see what he can truly become in the coming years. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe with notifications on and comment down below which player story you want to hear next. I'm going to be posting a lot more in the coming weeks, so let me know what you guys want to see with the channel. And also, YouTube really thinks you're going to like the video that's going to pop up either here or here. And with that being said, I'll see you on the other side.